Welcome, my curious companions of the cosmos. Today we've finally got around to the tier list. Yes, I know. After months and months of building up, we are here. And I'd like to introduce my brother. Very small channel. I thought I'd shout him out to get him a couple of subscribers.
Well, thank you. I'm also a small height from what I can see from the chairs that you selected for us to have. So, yeah, looking good.
No, he's just a midget, don't worry.
So what got me on for?
So I thought today we could use some insight from two people. I don't trust my own opinion enough to do it all myself and then put it on the internet. So I think I'll have some expert backing by good old Rationality Rules over here. I will leave your link in the description.
Oh, he's doing me a service, people. Look at this. I might share it on a community post.
So today we're going to try and be basing it off of three things: fallacies, personal opinion, and the popularity of the argument in general, both among apologetics and Christians in general.
With that in mind, and with absolutely no preparation, I think it's time we make this tier list, Austin.
Let's go.
So what do we have as number one? What is the first argument you're bringing to the table?
So it looks like the first one is, if I can read that, is really bloody small.
This was his one job, by the way, to make these logos up.
I think that's contingency.
You want to start a tier list for God's existence with contingency?
Do you want to? Okay. Do you want to start off easy then with something different?
My goodness, there's a teaser for you. We're going to do the contingency argument. Go on then. You know what? It's your channel, bro.
Yeah.
If you want to start with the contingency argument, then we will. Okay. I will make this easier for you, though. I'm going to teach you basic computers.
Ah, yes.
There we go. We made it bigger. That's good.
We got around to it.
Contingency. All right.
No, not contingency. We're going to do something different.
All right.
Let's start with prophecy.
What the hell is... Okay, so we know from this that...
I can't spell prophecy.
We couldn't prophesy that the AI could accurately write the word prophecy.
Yeah.
So we've got prophecy. What do you think of the argument from prophecy?
So, the argument from prophecy goes a bit like, there's old texts in the Old Testament that prophesies Jesus and Judas. They later became true. So, but that wouldn't have happened any other way. So, prophecy's true, mate. That proves God.
Yeah.
But I want to bring up my first point here, which is actually in my prophecy video, which is the deconstruction of Tyre. It's a literal city that was prophesied to be literally teared down to be never rebuilt and taken over by Nebuchadnezzar. I think I'm saying it right.
Nebuchadnezzar, yeah.
And the thing is, he never fully took over the city. He failed to actually take over the island portion of the city. And even worse than that, Tyre still exists today, thousands of years later. So I think that just shows the flaws in prophecy itself. But then we're turning into an apologetic nitpicking. I would also like to say that this isn't all prophecy. Some of them do come
disclaimer
out.
For the person who's very upset. We're not going to tackle every prophecy ever.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. That's not really something we can do.
Yeah.
We will tackle every prophecy.
Yeah. But there are a lot like these.
Yeah.
That, like, you would find out an apologetic will bring up the argument from prophecy, but they'll bring up Judas, they'll bring up the virgin birth. They won't bring up the destruction of Tyre. They won't bring up something that is like proving against their point.
Yep.
Even though there's probably more proving against their point than there is proving their point. With that in mind, what are your thoughts?
My goodness. Like, okay, so when it comes to prophecy, there are so many different types of prophecy. You have Muslims running around going, the Quran, incredible prophecies. You have, of course, Christians running around, Hindus running around. They're all running. None of them want to walk. But they're all with these views on prophecies. And you have to check out each and every claim. And this is where it becomes a little difficult to put like the broad category into the tier list. So what I found with prophecies is either one, they will make statements of this happened or this would happen. Isn't this incredible? And it turns out that when you look into the facts, it did happen, but it happened before it was written.
Yeah.
So it's not a prophecy. It's actually like a recording of history being presented as prophecy. So there's one.
Yeah.
The second one, it says that it's happened, and it hasn't. There's no definitive proof of it whatsoever. It's just been said that it happens. And then the third one is it doesn't say it at all. It's very vague, right?
Yeah.
So, these same religious people would look at other woo-woo groups, and they would go, when you go and you start talking to some medium who speaks with ghosts, and he goes, I'm getting the feeling that when you don't like being the center of attention, okay? I'm getting this feeling, but when you are forced into being the center of attention, you surprise yourself, you thrive. And they're like, wow, this is really good. This is a hit. You just described everyone. Everyone feels that way.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of these prophecies do.
Yeah.
They sound amazing. Like, a man will come and he will do a good thing. Jesus came and Jesus did an amazing thing. Muhammad came. Muhammad did an amazing thing. It's like, guys, come on.
Yeah.
You wouldn't accept this from other religious people. So why are you accepting it from your own?
Yeah.
So I would say prophecy. Where do you want to start? Like, meh? Do you want to start with?
I think first off, we haven't gotten around to the popularity of this argument and the fallacies.
All right, go for it.
So, popularity. Where's this sit around? It's not. You don't see it every day.
It is more popular among Muslims than it is Christians.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's to me, it's a go-to after they've realised their best argument doesn't work. They're like, Watchmaker argument, you go, basic scientific understanding for the last 200 years. And they go, okay, well, prophecy. Or personal experience.
Yeah.
So I feel like prophecy is not their ace in the hall, right?
Yeah.
I'd say it's awful, personally.
Okay, so for prophecies, this falls under cherry picking.
Yes, it does.
Very much so, which I've already gone across in earlier. It's just they will pick out certain prophecies that fit their narrative and leave out the abundance of prophecies, the majority of prophecies
Correct.
that actually disprove their point.
Yeah. So like what, they go through the Bible and they go, look, this one's a really good hit. This proves that God exists.
Yeah.
Proves that the story's true, that Christianity's true. And then you can point to so many others that are like, what's going on with these prophecies? They didn't come true.
Yeah.
Does that prove that God doesn't exist? Does it prove that Christianity isn't true? Or are you just cherry picking here the data that fits what you want? Yeah, bingo. Absolutely.
Yeah. Another one that we've already brought up is post-diction, which is basically that they were written after the fact.
Yeah.
So
post-diction, I need to use that word more often.
Another one we have already gone across as well is ambiguity. Basically, it's so ridiculously vague that it could mean anything.
Yeah.
And you've already said that with your, someone will come round, do a great thing. Oh, Jesus did a great thing. Kind of like that. That's what we're getting at here.
Another thing, not technically a fallacy, but confirmation bias, right? It's very much only focusing yourself on the data that resonates. So it's not like a deliberate act where you cherry pick the data, which is what the fallacy is, but it's also an element of having that bias to see the hits and run with them and not see where the hits haven't been done. Or like when it comes to the miracle claims in a different religion, you will immediately recognize that's not good enough. But when it comes to your own religion, no, it's really good.
Yeah.
That would do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, confirmation bias.
Okay, so where are we thinking of ranking this one then?
Oh, this is awful.
See, I don't think it's horrendous. Like, the thing is, right? No, because I'm thinking of it as a point of view. If I'm I'm a jolly old atheist, but I haven't looked into anything. I come up with prophecies. I'm like, oh my God, what? This really happened? And I haven't researched yet. Boom. And I think that will up the popularity as well, because there's a lot of people that are thinking like that. But I do agree, once you look into it, it's like...
You see, one of the things that gets me with prophecy is, suppose the prophecy did happen. Suppose it was the case that some guy in some location said this will happen, and then it happened. And? Like, what does that get us to, like, a virgin God? Like, does that get us to, like, Muhammad splitting the moon. Like, what do you want about? Like, you
Yeah.
can grant the argument. It doesn't get you the theistic claims. This is why I personally like, spoiler for later, I quite like Anselm's ontological argument, because it actually argues for God's existence, not this one where you can grant it and it doesn't get you there.
Yeah, we disagree a lot, especially mainly on the ontological. This is our biggest disagreement. I don't.
Right. Well, where are you sticking this one?
So I think I would bump it up to not good, but obviously, if you think it deserves awful and needs awful, I'm willing to go down to awful.
I predict that you're going to put it in not good.
Not good.
Yep.
All right.
But that later he's going to put it down further.
Yeah, probably.
Drag him in.
There we go.
Boom.
I think this time we're gonna have some fun. Pascal's wager.
Oh no, you said fun. Come on. Oh my goodness. Right, go on then.
So Pascal's wager, not an argument for God. It's an argument for belief. It's a gambler's version of God's existence. It's just, if you're unfamiliar with Pascal's wager, let me lay it out for you. Okay, so you're in a casino. You're given the option. Okay, so would you bet on God's existence? Because God's existence comes with, if you're right, you get to go in heaven. You get to spend lovely days eating cherries and kissing God. Or you could be wrong and you lose nothing. You don't believe in God. You spend eternity in hell getting spanked by Satan. Or
I'm in.
Yeah. Or you're right and you gain just minimal things. All you get is you don't devote your life to a deity that is just a bit weird.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. Oh, don't get me started, Austin. Like, I despise this argument.
It's not an argument for God. It's an argument for belief.
Well, for one, it's an argument for belief, not an argument for God. So in a tier list for arguments for God's existence, it's not on it.
Yeah.
It's a what the fuck,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But, well, the thing for me when it comes to Pascal's wager is it only works if you apply it to what I think is genuinely an evil God. So it's one that's going to like cast you into eternal flames, not for the content of your character, but for the conviction you hold.
Yeah.
That's it. It's got nothing to do with being good. And so it's like in this like tension with this all-loving character, right? The only form of Christianity that's ever remotely had any kind of probability to me is one that affirms universalism, which is the view that everyone will end up in heaven. Whereas this just ain't it, man. Like, this is depicting like the worse you make your God, like the more evil you make your God, the more Pascal's wager favors it. So you could say, you know, I'm going to make a new God. This new God is the atheist God.
Yeah.
And you only get to heaven if you actually use your noggin and realize there isn't sufficient evidence to believe in him. That's the test he's put before you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you believe in him, you're going to go and be tortured forever, being flayed, all of it, all the nasty stuff. All of a sudden, Pascal's wager, because of that infinity there, is going to be worse than an infinity of, you know, whatever it might be, like such as absent from God or something like this.
And it's something Pascal's wager fails to actually show is how many deities do we get to choose from? It's not just a Christian God. We've got Krishna, we've got Allah, we've got subscribe to my channel or you go to hell. We've got so much to choose from here, right? And suppose we pick the wrong one. I think if God is going to punish you for not believing in him, he would most likely punish you more for worshipping someone else. Therefore, you've made your shots even worse now. So it's not just a gamble. Well, it's an even worse gamble.
Yeah,
now.
it's like the matrix that's set up is wrong.
Yeah,
like there's more gods.
Yeah, and it's like,
I mean, adding to that, it's not just, you know, Christianity. It's Protestants.
Yeah,
Catholics.
Yeah,
like these people for most of their history have been at war, right? If not literally, then certainly metaphorically. And they've been claiming that the other is so different in their belief to God that they're going to hell.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden you can do this with pretty much 33,000 denominations of Christianity. You certainly can get a good 500 that are really, really incompatible.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden, your matrix is looking a bit weird. You've got 500 versions of God.
Yeah.
All you've got to do is look at it and go, which one's going to be the most nasty? Because that's the all-loving God that I should be praising and believing in.
But I think the biggest one that we need to address here is try and convince yourself right now that the earth is flat.
Ah, great. Doxastic voluntarism. That is how you make friends. Yes. Can you convince yourself of a proposition? No. I just think it's nonsense. Like Pascal argued, right, in his Ponzes. He said that if you was to go and hang out with Christians, you will end up with their beliefs.
Yeah.
This is what he was at least hinting at, right?
Right.
That's not how it works. You can make me hang out with flat earthers unless you bash me on the head so that my head is flat. It's not happening. That's not how it works.
unless you rid my mind of everything I know currently, of every logic-based reasoning I have in my head, then I'm not going to believe flat earthers.
And like, what's the idea here? Like, you turn up in church and you go, yeah, I don't believe that a resurrection happened where a virgin gave birth pretty much to a god. I don't think that happened, okay? And then what? You leave after hanging out with them and having a few too many cocktails, going, you know what? I believe Paul, who wrote 50 years after the fact that he apparently had 500 eyewitnesses. Like, what are you doing? Like, no, that's not how it works. That's not how we become convinced. Even people that do that, actually what they're saying is, I like my community.
And I think using his logic, if he spent enough time around atheists, he would now be unconvinced of his beliefs currently.
That's why they needed to get rid of atheists, you know? If they had this marker on the map, that was
God.
it. Yep.
So one thing that we haven't addressed yet is popularity. Pascal's wager is very popular. Like, it's a very popular thing, not among apologetics, right? But if you're in a casual conversation, say your Uncle Joe, and he's a Christian, you're an atheist. He's like, well, yeah, but if you don't believe, you're gonna go to hell. And it's like this is a thing that scares a lot of people into a false.
Yeah.
They don't believe in the faith that they're in, but they just don't want to lose that chance, if you get what I mean.
Absolutely. I think that Pascal's wager, because of this, is actually a confession.
Yeah.
If someone's bringing up Pascal's wager, as you said, apologists don't do it because they know it's a bad argument.
Yeah.
But because lay people do it, what they're actually expressing is, I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm scared of an all-loving God. That is what they're expressing. And it's not an argument. It's an appeal to emotion. It's also not. It's not in any way appealing to truth. It's appealing to pragmatism. That's it. Like, do the right thing to have maximal results for yourself. It's entirely selfish. It's exactly the kind of human being God wouldn't want to be around. Like, it's absurd. I hate it. It's in the WTF tier. I'm telling you.
So on to fallacies. False dichotomy. We've already brought this up. We have multiple more choices. It's not just Christian God or burn in hell.
Christian God or burn in hell, Christian God or burn in hell, Christian God or burn in hell. Oh, there's also a Christian God or burn in hell.
Wait.
Is there a Muslim? That's Muslim. There's another one.
Christian God or die in hell.
Oh, there's another one. I didn't think about that one. That one's crazy. That's the super Christian one with the super hell. Oh, what about the one that's got giga hell?
Oh,
no.
fuck.
Okay. Actually, I think it's great putting S tier. And as we were saying earlier, it is an appeal to consequences, right? So what it's basically conveying is that you should make a judgment based on the result, not on whether or not it's true. It's got nothing to do with whether or not it's true. And just to put a finer dot on it, it is a pragmatic fallacy, at least in the sense that it's covering what's useful, again, not what's true. It's slightly similar to what we were saying with the appeal to consequences, right?
Yeah.
The appeal to consequences is how you're getting there.
Yeah.
That's the road. But the actual location, the actual place that you land in is pragmatism.
Okay, so
which to be fair to Blaise Pascal, he did know that.
Yeah. So where's this going then?
Well, you tell me where you want to put it, and I'll tell you why you're wrong.
S tier.
Yeah, go on, then.
All right.
No, no, but it's in the dump. It's off.
It's in what the fuck. Like,
Yeah.
let's be honest.
No, it's either in what the fuck or just get rid. It doesn't even make it on the list.
We need to add another one. Pascal's wager. No, but there is one that I hate that I think is generally much worse than this on here. I'll get to it later.
Right, drag him in. Right, this one's going in.
Bear with me. Next, let's go with a beauty argument.
Oh gosh. Okay, go on then. Give it to me.
Beautiful out there, isn't it? There's
Not
the green.
really.
Shut up. There's the green, luscious of the trees.
I just saw a squirrel get run over.
There's the lovely, beautiful face of Thomas.
Oh god, no! I believe me. Holy Kool-Aid is not holy. Ugh.
So see all of this, right?
Yeah. Makes you sick, really.
Yeah, where else do we get this beauty from other than a magnificent, beautiful God?
So, God, he's up there, and he goes, "You know what? I control all of this. Okay, I'm a big guy. Like, I created everything and then said it was good. Okay, now I'm gonna create wasps. I'm gonna make it so they have to reproduce by laying their eggs into caterpillars. I'm going to make it so that, first of all, they make it so the caterpillar can't move. It lays the larvae in the caterpillar, and then over a long period, the larvae come out and eat the caterpillar from the inside out, deliberately eating organs and materials that make it so the caterpillar lives as long as possible. And beautiful. Beautiful. How can they not see my love and wisdom? It's right there before me.
Okay, so what we're going to do to cut time right now, I'm not even going to bring up the fallacies for this one, because I think we can already tell that love is just what the fuck. Like, let's get into popularity and then we'll move back onto that. So popularity, it's no one choosing the popular.
I don't agree with you. The look at the trees argument, which is what it is. It's actually really popular.
I'm here to talk about the argument from trees.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's like they go, look at the trees. It's beautiful. Therefore, when you look at the trees and you realize how beautiful they are, doesn't that like immediately give you a visceral conviction that like a woman was impregnated by a spirit? That's what's happening. Okay, that's what's happening. Put it in F tier, okay?
Yeah.
Go on then. The argument from love.
Love. So, with love, we've basically got the exact same premise as beauty, except it's love. Love's so mystical and beautiful that without God, you can't get it. Yeah, like evolution. Who?
Yeah, I mean, like that's what it is for me, right? Because they're like love. It's just inexplicable.
Yeah,
you can't explain it. It's like, tell me again that you don't know what evolution is. Right?
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, but it's really weird. No, it's not. We're a social species. Yeah. It's selected for. Okay. Love in a snake that farts out its babies and then never sees it again. Fair enough, okay? Or fish that do that. It would be weird if it could love, because unless it's got another reason to adapt and have love, doesn't make sense. But a social species that depends on one another, where the resources that are involved in order to rear children is humongous.
Yeah.
You're going to go, oh, no, evolution would never select for love. Like, love is completely unexplained. What are you on about, C.S. Lewis?
Yeah.
Stop. Just stop.
Stick to Narnia, mate.
Stick to Narnia, okay? Just stick to Narnia.
So, in terms of popularity, I think it also sticks there with the beauty argument, which is... have you ever heard anyone use the argument from love?
I've debated the argument from love with on a Premier Christianity, and I have heard it come up a few times. It's rarer.
Right.
I feel like what happens is the people that realise look at the trees is not a good argument. They need a new ace up their sleeve. So they pick up a C.S. Lewis book where he says nothing but utter dribble. Like, it's chloroform in print to me, okay? They read a couple of pages and then they just go, yeah, love. And then that's their new argument.
Yeah, so where are we sticking this?
Oh, I think it's awful.
Awful or what the fuck? Because I feel if we put beauty down in what the fuck, I think love goes down there as well.
I think you're right. Yep, I think it's pretty bad. Oh, we got beauty and what the fuck? What's the other one?
That's Pascal's wager down there. And then prophecy up there.
Love is either awful or what the fuck. Because I can understand this really strong emotion that we experience, and not, if you don't understand evolution, then yeah, it can feel weird.
I suppose it is better than beauty, so let's put it...
I think it's better than beauty. Beauty is just ignorance.
What are we saying about Pascal's wager here? Is
no. Pascal's right at the bottom.
Right, okay, yeah.
Unless you disagree. This is your tier list.
No, I think it deserves lower, yeah.
All right.
So this time we're going around to free will.
Okay.
So this kind of is a bit worse for both of us, since neither of us believe in free will.
Neither does anyone, basically, who isn't a theist.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
and also, like, by free will, they mean libertarian free will, right? The genuine ability to be able to do different, which makes it so that you are actually able to be held accountable in the theological sense for heaven and hell.
Yeah. And the thing is, I take a more philosophical approach for it, like the video Alex O'Connor made.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably link that in the description. It's basically, you are subject to your wants.
Yep.
Do you get to control what your wants are? No. So are your actions free? Not really.
Mm-hmm.
But you could say, no, but I'll overcome my wants to do this, and then it will be free will. Well, no, but you want to overcome your wants.
Yeah.
Therefore, you're still subject to your wants.
Mm-hmm.
So free will is just not a thing for me. And I think in this, if we can just get rid of it, say free will isn't a thing, which is probably a longer term thing, but I suppose we can just brush over it.
I mean, you can, like, in the terms of, like, if you look at the philosophy polls and you look at the scientific polls, especially philosophy, I should say, those that believe in libertarian free will are about the same percentage as those that believe in theism.
Yeah.
Like, it's telling you something there, right? I mean, fair enough, it's an inference that I'm making, but it's telling you something there. There's a reason why the vast majority of philosophers do not believe in libertarian free will.
Yeah. But
the argument supposes that it does exist. What better explains it? Which to me strikes me as saying the soul exists. Yeah. Is this better explained under naturalism or theism?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're starting at a point that none of us are at, right? Yeah. And you're calling it libertarian free will, but I think what you're really meaning is a ghost in the machine.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason to believe that that's the case.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly not sufficient reason. That's my view anyway.
Yeah. And how often do you come across the free will argument? I'll ask you, since you've obviously been in more debates.
Not that often.
Yeah.
It's not a very often one. It's a very powerful emotion that people express.
Yeah.
But they tend to utilize it for other arguments, personal experience, things like this. It's not one that I've come across too often. It's not a big one for them to do.
You come across love more?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, love's come across. And beauty a lot.
Fierce, what are you doing? So where exactly do you think that this lands?
The thing is, right, is that if you grant the premise of libertarian free will being a thing, I think then you could argue that this has relatively... You can quite easily explain this under theism. It becomes quite difficult under naturalism. I don't buy it. Like, there's lots of things that could be said about it, but I can see the mentality at play.
Yeah.
So I think it's better, but
above
not
prophecy?
By much. Yeah, meh, not good.
All right. I think not good above prophecy. Prophecy.
Prophecy.
The argument from simplicity. So it's basically Occam's razor for theists. It's like, oh well, Big Bang don't make sense for some reason. So Sky Daddy. So basically, I'd say with Occam's razor used for the theist, I did say earlier there's one that I hate more than Pascal's wager, and I think it's the worst. This is it.
Is it? This is your worst one.
It goes
Okay,
backwards. It goes backwards.
It does,
Using
it does,
Occam's
it does.
razor
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a theist puts you in the opposite direction.
I know.
I don't think any other argument can actually accomplish that.
Explain. Let's do it.
Look, so let's take the premise here. The Christian God exists because it's more simple. Okay, so what's more simple than the Big Bang? An omnibenevolent God, an omniscient God, an all-powerful God, an all-knowing God. This God exists outside of time and space. This God has the ability to create universes. May I go on?
You're just adding all of these
Yeah.
things. But, Austin, what if you just take the billion things that you've added together? It's one thing.
Whoa.
One assumption. God.
Yeah.
God, just call it one thing.
I hate this argument. And I have made a video on it, but I think when I was doing the video, I hadn't quite discovered my hatred as much as I do now.
Yeah.
So if I sound calm in that video, just know if I was doing that again, I wouldn't be very happy.
Yeah.
And then I would actually appeal to my name, the Angry Atheist.
Yes, you would indeed.
No, I probably wouldn't get angry, but I wouldn't be happy explaining this argument. I'd probably be in a bit of like, fuck you mood. So, have you ever came across this argument? The argument from Desire. Basically, so, oh, you're thirsty. Well, go get some water. It now leads you to water. Oh, you're hungry. Well, now you've been led to getting some food. Oh, you have a drive to find a purpose in God, and you want... you really just want something that's above you and created everything to exist.
Yeah, natural's not enough for you. You want supernatural.
But while we were explaining this, Thomas came up with something very nice, which is I desire a Ferrari in my garage. Where's that garage now? No, where's that Ferrari now? At the garage as well, but still.
Where's the garage as well? Yeah, like the fact that you have a desire for it no way indicates that one, you're going to get it or actually deserve it.
Yeah.
And two, that there's anything other than your desiring for it being a thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, this is just misunderstanding evolution again.
Yeah.
It's like two tribes, okay? One has selection pressure that makes it so they think that they are more important than what they are, that the entire universe revolves around them. Those stars, they're not stars, they're holes in a firmament. You're the center. You're the one that matters. Evolution's going to select for that.
Yeah.
They want you to... Evolution wants you to think you're precious, think you're super special, think that you are God's chosen. You are God's children, no less. So there's a selection force for it. And then, what God, right?
Yeah.
You go to different places and different times, they're not seeking the same God. They're seeking variations of the religions that they were brought up in.
Yeah.
The very software that was installed on them, they're searching for.
Yeah.
What a surprise.
So, how often have you come across this?
Not often. Again, this is a C.S. Lewis kind of argument that I've heard. And that kind of apologetic is getting more popular.
Yeah.
It goes through phases, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd say it's not super popular, but it's difficult, right? Because on the one hand, with the apologists that I debate, they tend not to go for the quote weak arguments.
Right.
But if you take the generic theist, the person, the normal Christian,
like an Ashley per se.
An Ashley, right? And yeah, this argument actually ranks very high in terms of it's one that they will bring up. And there's that mix and match that's happening a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Like the arguments that get people there, the ones that actually feel like they have any worth, they're not the contingency argument.
Yeah.
They're just not. That's not how they got there. No one started believing in God because of the ontological argument.
Yeah.
Like it's so, maybe there's one, but it's like, it's really not how people get there.
Yeah.
It's desire, personal experience, love, these really bad argue, look at the trees,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
So where do you think this one goes down?
Oh,
So I feel we can't knock it down to bottom tier with the ones. I think this goes awful.
go on. Yep.
All right.
In.
All right.
So the moral argument is getting at moral objective duties. So the idea is that there is something that is quote unquote objectively right or objectively wrong. So for example, we would say today, slavery is objectively wrong. It's something that you just shouldn't do. It's not okay under any circumstance. Now, Thomas Aquinas wouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
In fact, he said it the opposite. The same is true of the church fathers.
Yeah.
Right?
Augustine.
Yeah, it's true of basically most of humanity until very recently that slavery was just a normal thing.
Yeah.
But, the theist doesn't tend to think of morality as changing over time. They tend to be taught in church that we've always had the right view. It's always been objective. Everyone else is the moral heathens. When really they're just adapting and changing, ironically, via an evolutionary force. They're adapting and changing their views. But under this rubric, there is objective moral duties. There is an objective moral framework. And given that these ontological, I don't want to confuse it with the word ontological, but given that these things actually are a thing, like objective moral values, theism explains this, whereas naturalism can't explain it at all. Atheism just can't do it.
Yeah.
That's the argument.
So I think the first thing I want to bring up is, I forgot what it's called, but I think Plato brought it up, and it's basically, so with morality, does God ground morality? Yeah. Okay, well, if God now grounds torture as socially acceptable, is torture now socially acceptable? So they now have two options. Yeah, which is now cult logic, or two is no, which is, okay, so morality exists independent of God and undermines your entire argument completely.
Yeah, no, I just to cross the T's and dot the I's on that, it's a guy called Euthyphro, and it's known as the Euthyphro dilemma, and it says, look, is something good because God says it's good? Or is something good independent of God? It just is good. So God commands you to do it because it is good.
Yeah, this is what I was trying to get at. That's what it's called, Euthyphro.
There you go, bro. So it's like, if something is good and that's why God commands you to do it, then it explicitly has nothing to do with God. It doesn't. He's just like the referee. He's just the person that's pointing you in the direction. Maybe you could say he's a lawyer, but he's not, or like the person that's maintaining, some kind of like adherence to something. But like he's not responsible for the good. The good exists independent of God.
Yeah.
Whereas if it doesn't exist independent of God, but rather it's good because God says so. Well, when God says slavery is okay, it's okay. When God says that men are, to have more rights than women, it's okay, right? When he switches his mind, it's okay. Like this isn't morality. This is might makes right. It's completely arbitrary. Now, the theist, they're going to come on in, utilizing William Lane Craig and, a few other philosophers, and they're going to come on in and they're going to say, no, you're misunderstanding. It's a false dilemma. It's a fallacy to think of it like this. Really, there's a third option. God's nature is the answer. So yeah, you have this situation where it's, okay, God's character is good. Okay, is it good because it aligns with something exterior? The goodness. If yes, okay, morality exists outside of goodness, but his nature is good because it aligns with it. If no, if it's defined by his very nature, you haven't answered the question at all. Like at all, it's just defined by his nature. If his nature is such that slavery is okay, slavery is okay. It doesn't do anything at all. Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Now, popular, very popular.
Yeah.
Very popular argument.
I see it a lot. I used to do still do sometimes, the TikTok live scrolling.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of stuff where it's like, oh, in an atheist worldview, you can't have morality. Morality doesn't exist. It's like, well, no. Well, this is like in your worldview, like the way you see morality is cult logic. It's cult logic.
Yeah, it is a popular argument. Very popular. Where's it going?
So I think because of its popularity, we must bump this up.
Go on then. If we're doing popularity, it's got to go up.
So I think meh.
Meh or good. Like if you're doing popularity, then that's going to hit the metric. Meh or good.
Yeah, we'll go up to good then.
All right.
The argument from miracles.
Okay, let's go.
Oh God! Oh no, he's got cancer. That's horrible. Oh, he's better through the doctors. No. Through God, I mean, yeah. Through God.
Yeah. Thank God.
Doctors.
Yeah.
God. Okay.
Yeah.
So since my my dear brother Steve here has just recovered from cancer through the I almost said it again. The God. We must now have a God on our hands.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I just love the idea of like, you know what? Damn, got up and I've got cancer. Thank God. No. It wasn't God. It wasn't God. No. Something I sinned. Something.
Yeah.
It's just part of my soul building experience.
No, it's the devil.
I go and do chemo and I'm sat next to a child that's also got cancer. I'm like, yeah, thank God for giving. No.
Yeah.
No. He's also testing the child as well. Oh, I get cured from the cancer. The kid's dead.
Oh, look.
What do I do? Thank God that he took the child so quickly because of his speed running soul building.
But Steve, look over there. It's the child over there. He's got a parasite that's eating his eyes.
Oh, that's a miracle. That's incredible. That's amazing.
Is this popular?
Yes. Miracles. Again, it's not popular with apologists. They know it's crap.
Yeah.
It's popular with lay people.
Yeah.
Very popular with lay people. It's extremely popular because it's so plural.
Yeah.
And it's so personal. They tell you, like, I've seen a miracle in my life. I know what it is. You go, what is it? And it'll be something incredibly vague. I mean, like, here would be a nice miracle, right? Hey, so John lost his leg. I prayed, and his leg came back. Okay, now we're talking, right? But it's always something vague, like, she had a really bad cough. And then I know that people get better from coughs, but I prayed, and then she got better from a cough. It's not doing it for me, buddy.
His leg just came back.
Yeah. But it's always something vague. It's never something specific.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no. So I think, judging off of this, I'm very much between what the fucking awful, but it's above love, I think.
Go on and stick him above love.
So, what do you think, though? Are we up a tier?
Stick him on awful. Go on. Stick him on the back of awful. It is a popular argument.
The argument from religious experience. Oh, look at that! Jesus is flying from the sky!
Oh.
Where are the witnesses?
Damn. Oh, no. You got none?
I'm in an isolated field with head trauma. Shit.
Must be God.
Yeah, but you do know. Okay, I'll give it to them. There are some occasions where there's multiple people, but you find in almost every single case, it's like when it's multiple people. Oh, it's 3 people. Oh shit, they're all on LSD. Like,
yeah,
it's always there's always that catch that they refuse to give out, and it's like the main one I want to give out here, right, is that there's a religious experience coming over here from, oh, I just saw Muhammad. Oh, I just saw Jesus. Oh, I just saw the Buddha. Like, these don't align. No, they don't.
They can't all be right.
No.
They can all be wrong. The problem is with personal experience is when someone says, I had this really surreal experience and I saw my dead mother or whatever it might be, right? If you say to them, I don't believe you, they think you're saying, I don't believe you had the experience.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you didn't have the experience. I'm saying that your conclusion that your dead mother spoke to you isn't substantiated. And I think a lot of people feel personally attacked when you go, look, no. I'm not saying you didn't have the experience. I'm saying the result, the conclusion's wrong.
And I think people tend to underestimate the the state that their mind are in when this
Yeah.
happens, and it's like, oh, like, because you always notice it's always when they're like down on their knees praying, like, no, someone help me, and it's like your brain is literally like it's trying to save you. Your brain is like subconsciously trying to save you, and it's not doing it where you know, and it's obviously going to come up with like something like this, and it's going to save you, and you're just gullible to, well, I think gullible's a bit harsh, but it's gullible, but I don't mean it that harsh, if you get what I mean.
Well, you bring out a really good point about LSD, right? So people will take drugs, they take mushrooms, they take LSD, and they will experience really weird conscious states. And to them, sometimes the best way they explain it is, oh, I saw the earth from a distance. Fair enough, that's the experience that you had. I'm not saying you didn't. But you can see already that the brain is malleable to these things.
Yeah.
It happens across the board. Like the Christian, for example, will look at these experiences and go, yeah, I know that when that person says that they felt like Gabriel spoke to them and told them that being gay is wrong, that's a real experience they had. I know that this person who had this experience and had this premonition of like how humanity ends, he means it. I know that this person really has this view and this view, but I know that they're wrong because my one's right. Like, as long as their personal experience is compatible with my one, I'll give it credence. Otherwise, I can only say, yes, they had the experience.
Yeah.
It's just silly nonsense to me, right? I mean, one of the things is take the broader picture of what's happening with personal experiences.
Right.
God, like, could come down and, like, fix the cholera in the water that's, like, wiping out an entire village.
Yeah. Yeah.
He could come down and stop that murderer.
Yeah.
He could come down and he could go, you know what? Wasps, you no longer have to reproduce by causing utter carnage towards caterpillars. But no, he comes down and he goes, you know that person that was born in a country where Christianity is big? I'm going to go to that person and see that person, and they're going to experience me.
Yeah.
It's not feasible at all.
Yeah.
Like, what would be more interesting is like some village in China that hasn't heard of Christianity. One of them just goes, "Oh, I just had a vision of Jesus."
Yeah.
That would be more interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not convinced at all.
Nah.
So, how often? I think you would find that, like, if I speak to any Christian I've spoken to in person or over TikTok debate or anything, well, not any, but you'd find most of them would say, yes, I have had an experience with God, and I think this is the one that brings in the most average people. In terms of arguments, I don't think it's used that often, but I think in terms of bringing in the most people, religious experience is the most.
Yeah. We go in S tier?
I don't think S tier. I think just because it's not used that well as an argument, and the actual, like, the things we brought up as well, that, like, because if we're judging based off of popularity, S tier.
Yeah.
But I think the other stuff does bring it down.
It's also really hard to argue against because it's just so personal, and you have to actually teach a person about psychology and stuff.
Yeah.
And anthropology, and they don't want to know about this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on then, where you put it?
I think I like it.
I like it.
All right.
I like it.
Kalam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Steve hasn't faced this.
Never
very
heard
much,
the Kalam
so.
before.
Oh, so if I like smack, well, no, let me. Everything has a cause. This mouse was made by people manufacturing it in a factory. That light that's shining on us was made in similar ways. My socks were made in a factory. Okay, well, I was made in a woman. My mother, to be exact. But if we can apply this to everything has a cause. Everything that we know has a cause. Okay, so why can't we apply that to the universe? What are your thoughts?
Well, the original was very much, everything has a cause. And then what would happen is people would go, well, what caused God? And they would go, no, God doesn't need a cause.
Yeah.
And what's special pleading? So they went, well, how do we get away from this? everything that begins
Yeah.
to exist has a cause. They know that the natural response is, why would we think the universe began to exist, for instance? And that's why the second premise is the universe began to exist. Therefore, the universe had a cause. So, like, first of all, does this get you to God? No. Like, you have to do like what's known as a part 2 of the Kalam in order to get anywhere near God. Which, when you already need a part 2 to an argument, I think it's kind of telling you that it's not very good. You know.
Yeah.
It is a popular argument. Its popularity seems to me to be dying down.
Yeah.
It's not what it used to be. It was very, very big with William Lane Craig,
Yeah.
but it's had a lot of attention from a lot of philosophers. It would be a criminal thing for me not to mention my friend and philosopher, Joe Schmid, who has a wicked series, a very big series on the Kalam. If you're interested in the Kalam, you got to check that out.
I'll link him in the description.
Definitely. He's really is top-notch philosopher, right? He's really into this, and he's done lots and lots of work that is pertaining to this, to contingency, I'd argue, like a lot. So, yeah, no, it's a very popular argument, or it was, in the 2010s.
Yeah.
It's not really there anymore compared to what it was.
And I think it's because of like atheists like you that just keep constantly going.
Yeah, I've made so many videos on the Kalam.
It's like boom, this, and it's like, oh god, we need to find something else. Fine tuning, and it's
fine
something
tuning's
like
the new one. Yeah.
Okay, so popularity.
It is a popular argument. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
which we've just said.
Yeah.
And where do you think this goes?
I really don't like the Kalam. I haven't ever liked the Kalam, but it has been a very popular argument. It is a go-to for people. It's difficult. It's really difficult to place. Like, if I do it on like my personal conviction, it's a bad argument. It's a very bad argument. I mean, like, not only that, but there are things that exist that do not have causes, right? Like, what would be an example? Here would be an example. If I had 23 apples and you was to split it in half, but you're not allowed to half the apple itself, can you do it? No, you can't, because you can't split 3.
No.
Right? Can't be done. What's the cause for that rule? There is no cause. Like, not in the sense that's, got like this this linear element that it's barking at. You're talking more of a contingency here, if anything. And so that's why I think the contingency argument's better. Yeah. So, but we'll get to that later. Okay. Kalam, it's not good. Meh. Go meh.
I think that's too generous.
Yeah, all right.
I put it just above. Do you want to go in between free will and prophecy?
Put it in between.
Or prophecy.
Prophecy. All right, I'm going to take a pick out of this one. We're going to go for consciousness, yeah? Good one. We actually disagree about this one, don't we?
Yeah, so...
All right, argument from consciousness.
Yeah.
It's essentially that consciousness is inexplicable under atheism/naturalism. That is to say that naturalism doesn't have a reason or a way to explain why consciousness is a thing, right? Why is it that we experience? Why do we look around and know that we exist? Why? Like, why would a natural world produce this? And, well, you find this argument relatively compelling, right?
I wouldn't say compelling. I would say it's better than you make it out to be. I can already tell you would just go, what the fuck? No thought. Like,
no, I wouldn't put it on what the fuck.
Really?
No. I don't think it's a bad argument.
But
I'd say it's good.
Well, and we're not as contrasting as I thought then.
All right.
I would probably put not good.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. So, okay, what is it you don't like about it?
When you simplify it in the terms of what explains consciousness, a higher consciousness is essentially the argument.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. And when you put it that way, it's like, yeah, but if you put it just that way, it's what the fuck. Instantly.
Oh yeah, because then you're just like, well, what explains the higher consciousness? Oh, we don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you need to do it from the beginning?
Yeah, I think as we're recording this, my
opinion's changing.
my opinion
There
is
we
just
go.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like
You don't like it.
Yeah.
The thing for me is, it's like they say consciousness is really odd. Is it?
And
really, is it actually that odd?
I think what we were getting at earlier, where it helps us in a evolutionary path to exist, that we're so much cool, and our consciousness is so whoa, and it's like no, it's like
with evolution and the way that it selects, it's like you look at various species and we have ways of testing their consciousness, right? And although we don't know the ins and the outs, maybe you could even argue we don't know the ins, we know the outs.
Yeah.
You have a situation where you have a variability of conscious states. We know that. And it just so happens to be that those that have heavy selection towards certain traits have more of this consciousness. And so why would evolution select it? It's a massive advantage. Like, it's not a mystery.
Yeah.
Like, consciousness is huge. You're aware of your surroundings, which means you can navigate it better if you have locomotion. It means that, especially if you've got a brain, you can actually run simulations in your brain before you do it. These things are of incredible advantage.
Yeah.
So evolution selecting for it is not surprising to me at all. So although I have sympathy for the origins of life and how the origins of these things come about, it's just not the amazing thing where people start speaking about the grand product, if you will, of what we are today. It's not a surprise to me at all. I really don't find it that convincing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So where do you find this in popularity?
Popularity, ooh. Meh.
Really?
Yeah, meh. You get a lot of meh. It comes up a bit. Again, C.S. Lewis type.
I actually haven't really came across. I suppose I have. You see, I have an uncle, not from your half, and I was saying, I was saying to him, I was like, look, I just don't find a God convincing. He goes, yes, I know. I used to go down the atheist worldview before, and I'm although I'm not convinced of Christianity or any specific deity or anything, I'm convinced that there is something, because consciousness is so inexplicable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because of things like that, I had kind of
fair.
It makes it better, but at the same time, it's like that's you. I think I just had it lucky there, and that's not even lucky. I just had it rare there, and that's not a very often case.
By the way, it's often the case that these arguments, the level of credence that people have towards it, is to do with the people around them that they admire and they care about, and what they think about these things. So, legit. I found certain arguments more plausible because of my surroundings, because of people I was around.
Yeah.
It was just later on I thought about it more and I was like, no, it really is bad.
Yeah.
Or actually it's better than my family thought or something,
Yeah, I would put it meh.
Yeah,
all right. Anselm.
Ooh.
Here's the one you've been gearing up for this.
I've been gearing up for this one, bro.
Anselm's ontological.
Yes. So conceiving of the greatest possible being, if you conceive of the greatest possible being, then he necessarily exists, because existence is greater than non-existent. So if you're thinking of, the greatest possible being, but he doesn't exist, then you're not thinking about the greatest possible being.
Yeah.
The greatest possible being, by definition, exists, has to exist. So if you're thinking of the greatest possible being, he exists.
But can we even say that it's greater to exist in reality? Is it?
This is a good point I believe David Hume expressed, and I agree with you. No is the answer, actually.
Yeah.
No. But intuitively, a lot of people would say, well, yeah, a piece of pizza that exists is better than a piece of pizza that doesn't.
Can you conceive of the greatest conceivable cheese moon?
No.
No?
Well, I have to, don't I? Because the greatest possible cheese moon necessarily has existence.
Yeah.
If I'm not thinking of the greatest possible cheese moon, then, well, I haven't done what you asked me to do. You asked me to think of the greatest possible cheese moon. But if I'm thinking of the greatest possible cheese moon, then it necessarily exists. Oh, well, amazing.
Yeah. And you can do that for anything. You can do it for unicorns. You can do it for a girlfriend. But do you want to get around to why you think this is so good?
The reason I think it's so good is that the vast majority of arguments, as we've been speaking about today, even if you grant the conclusion, it doesn't get you anywhere near an all-powerful, all-loving God. It doesn't get you near the God of Christianity, right? So take, for example, the prophecies. One of the points I raised is that you can go, okay, he said this will happen, and then this happened. Troy burns, right? And it doesn't get you to God. It doesn't get you anywhere near it, right? You're nowhere near it. Same with the Kalam. Universe began to exist. Okay, so the universe had a cause. Great. Where's God?
Yeah.
You haven't left me anywhere near God, right? So these arguments are presented with this element of they are arguments for God's existence, right? They're not like arguments that get you 1% closer to God. They're meant to do something special. The ontological argument does it. If the ontological argument goes through, it pretty much gets you to God. I think it was Immanuel Kant. I think he got this right. He is right to say that the ontological argument is actually the only argument for God's existence. Because all of the others, if you grant them, it doesn't really get you there. There's technicalities that you could argue, but that's why I think it's a really good argument in terms of if you grant it. But does it convince anyone?
No.
Nope.
See, that's
Nope.
the only reason I disagree. It's just because, well, I agree with your premise there, where it's like, yeah, it will lead you to the Christian God, but it's like, who's it actually convincing though?
Yeah.
And that's a really big problem. Sure, it'll lead you to the Christian God, but I think the main factor that you want from it is for it to actually convince you of a God, because you can't just you can't believe in a Christian God without believing in a God. Yeah. So, with that in mind, I'd put it. I'll include your thing here. I'll put it top of awful.
Probably fair.
All right.
Probably fair.
Also, I have forgot to put in the Is it the
modal ontological?
Yeah, the
argument.
modal ontological.
Yes. Okay.
So we have forgot the modal ontological.
Yay.
Just off the top of our heads, where would modal go? Just so we don't leave that one fan of the modal unhappy.
WTF? I hate it.
See,
honestly, it doesn't convince anyone. Like, this is one of
yeah,
those
but
ones
that's the same with
used...
Anselm.
Nah, I mean, I'll give you that. If we were ranking this by people that became convinced by the arguments, Anselm is F tier. No one gets convinced of God's existence for Anselm. Maybe there's 5 people. Okay, it's just not an argument that convinces people. Modal ontological argument's worse.
Yeah.
It's entrenched in modal logic, which tends to be used by apologists really just as a gatekeeping in order to essentially like bully people with, concepts such as S5 logic and stuff. And it's just, once you understand what's going on, it's just such nonsense.
Yeah. I'm happy to put it in WTF.
I'm going to say this as well, right? So the argument itself is going, if you can conceive of a world where God exists, then it will just follow that God does exist. You need to employ S5 logic. But that's what's happening. But you can just reverse it. You can just go, listen, humble theist, so humble. Are you 100% that God exists? 100%. If they have humility, they're going to say, no, I'm 99.99%. You can then go, okay, so God doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's it. You just reverse it. You just reverse the logic. Now, of course, they're not going to buy that because they don't really buy the argument that they're giving you, right? It's nonsense.
But what I just want to quickly address is, conceive of a world where it's impossible for a maximally great being to penetrate. Well, now we don't exist in every world.
It necessarily doesn't exist in every world. Yeah, I know. It's possible world semantics and the employment of S5 logic and just no.
Okay. Well, I don't have to move this. Do you want to take a pick?
Oh yeah, I'll take a pick, mate. Do I have to move it at all? Have you put it in?
So that one's contingency, Watchmaker, resurrection, or fine tuning.
All right, let's have resurrection. Go on.
All right. Resurrection basically goes. So Jesus dead. Oh, it's so sad. Jesus now up. Whoa, massive whoa.
Wow.
That can't happen if Christianity's not true. But my problem is, it didn't fucking happen. If I believed in a resurrection, I would be a Christian. This argument is used as in the sense of everyone believes in the resurrection. Like it should, when you're saying this argument, it's so stupid because when you're saying this argument, you have to necessarily assume that the other person believes the resurrection.
Yeah, it's basically if you're past this post, then you'll get all the way. Well, well, maybe that's true of like most people, but if we're past that post, if we're going to grant the resurrection, like
the resurrection convinces.
Honestly,
the resurrection convinces Christians of their own faith.
But imagine this: you say, "Listen, I'm going to do the argument from Vishnu, and I'm going to do it on I forget how it's pronounced, but Vishnu picked up an entire part of the ground and moved it right with a village on top.
Yeah,
the argument from picking up this village. If you grant that something picked up the village and moved it, what better explains this? Vishnu or what? Naturalism. Wow, what an incredible argument. Wow.
Yeah, but
I'm amazed. Like, no, if you grant that, then Vishnu is, of course, the Vedas is going to make much better sense of this than, say, the Bible or something like this.
Yeah.
It's silly nonsense. And also, resurrection. The evidence we have for, like, Jesus's death is okay, right? Yeah. Anything afterwards, like, even the idea of like the Romans letting them take down the body, like no, like this is such nonsense.
Have you noticed with the timeline, it gets progressively more and more miraculous?
Yes, it does.
And I put this in my video on it, one of my biggest videos, and there was so many angry theists going, "No, you got the timeline wrong. It get worse." And I'm like,
it does.
I researched it, please.
It does. It really does get worse. It gets more and more and more magical as time goes on. Yeah.
So
in most cases,
how popular?
Not that popular. Oh, it kind of is, isn't it? Like
it's popular among theists. If it's a theist on theist, I'd say it'd be popular.
I don't think it is that popular. Yeah.
But
I think it's a terrible argument.
If someone used a resurrection on me, I'd literally just say, mate, okay, if I believed in a resurrection, I'd be convinced right now. I would already be a Christian right now. But the thing is, I don't buy your conclusion because I don't believe in the things that built up to your conclusion.
And the thing is, that, honestly, like Christopher Hitchens put this point across quite well. You could grant the resurrection. It doesn't get you to Christianity. Like this is what's weird. It's suppose I wanted to prove to you, okay, that I wanted to prove to you that Christianity is true, and I wanted to prove to you that the Bible is correct. The conquest of Canaan happened, let's say, right, per this interpretation. Genesis is real, or like whatever theology I have, heaven and hell are real things. The only way to go through to one is by believing and saying the right words, etc. I want to prove this proposition, and so I point at the resurrection. This guy preached it, then he died, then he resurrected. This doesn't get you to this. It doesn't. It just doesn't at all. You need faith in order to get to the God parts. It's I don't like it at all. I think it's awful.
I think it's what the fuck.
Put it in.
Where are we putting it in there though? Is it above love?
It's above Pascal's wager. That's what I'm saying.
It's above love and beauty.
Yeah.
This one, I would say, is probably the best.
Watchmaker. S tier, mate.
we could just leave it at that and just put it there, but I think we need to give the audience a bit of a commentary. So, Watchmakers is basically, I forget how it's actually goes out, but it's something like,
I've got it if you want.
Yeah, go on then.
All right, so William Paley. It's not technically from Paley. I would argue you can get this from Cicero and others. But the idea is, you're out and about in the world and you're walking around and you see on a beach, for example, you see a pocket watch and you pick it up and you look at it and you go, whoa, this is complex. So complex. Therefore, we know that it was created by something with intelligence. That's the inference that's made by Paley. Well, turns out humans are really complex. Grass is really complex. The universe is really complex. You can make the same inference. Every watch has a watchmaker. Every painting has a painter. Every human has a human maker. But actually what they want to say is everything has a God. And God created it all.
And what I'd like to come clean off the bat is assume you're an alien from a distant world. Assume you've never made contact with anything like intelligent at all, not even your own species. You've just plopped into existence, right?
I do feel that way sometimes.
And you stumble across this watch. Given the context, I just think, well, if I'm intelligent myself, I'd just go, no, that could be natural. That could just be a natural thing. Mm-hmm. If I'd never seen a watch, never seen a human, never seen anyone make anything complex, I would then go, yeah, all right.
Exactly. Like, what would people find William Paley's argument convincing if he went, I was walking along and I saw a blade of grass and I picked it up and I went, this is really complex, therefore God.
Yeah.
No, the reason we know that watches are created is because we have millions of examples of watches coming about via us creating them. We don't have any examples of watches turning up in nature. That is actually what's doing the heavy lifting. It's not that it's complex, because the grass is complex. There's complexity everywhere. It's got nothing to do with complexity. It's entirely to do with the fact that we've seen what it is. We know what it is. It's made of materials that we know are actually rearranged by conscious beings in order to put them into certain states.
Yeah.
But it is a really good argument. It convinced people for a really long time. It's very emotionally compelling.
Yeah.
It's like, in terms of its argumentation, it's poor. But in terms of, like, does this come up a lot? Yeah. Still does, in variations, a lot.
Arguments for God, it goes S tier, but this is arguments for God, but the arguments for Christianity, it still doesn't.
No.
Because it doesn't lead you to a specific God.
It doesn't do what the ontological argument does.
Yeah.
It doesn't get you to God.
That's the...
See?
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
What it does is it actually just gets you to a really stupid God. Because, like, imagine if you picked up a watch, but you picked up a watch, but it's made in a really weird way where you actually can't see the watch because it's got a bit of metal over it. That's just weird.
Yeah.
Well, I present to you the naked roll mat. I present to you many rats and moles, particularly moles, that exist underground, right? They had eyes, they're mammals, they lived on the surface, they then migrated underground and started reproducing underground. They now have eyes with the skin completely covering it.
Yeah.
That's... What watchmaker makes that? That's like, I just built a lovely new car. Oh, I like the lights. I'm not finished there. I'm going to cover the lights. Well, why'd you build them in the first place? Because I'm a great car designer. That's why. Like, no.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
But I have to give it to it. It does better than any of these other arguments.
It does.
It like...
Top of I like it or S tier. Go on.
It has to go S tier because the only reason I'm putting it S tier, right, is because it does better than every other argument on here.
Yeah.
If it was just here, boom, I'd want to put it in I like it, but just because we have all of these arguments, I'd do S tier.
Do it. Yeah, perfect. So the contingency argument is running along the lines of everything has an explanation for its existence. And the explanation is either that it's necessary, which is to say that there is no possible world in which it didn't exist, it wasn't a thing, or it's contingent. That is to say that it's predicated on something else. It relies on something else for its existence. So, for example, you and I, we're brothers. If Dad didn't exist, we didn't exist.
Yeah.
We are contingent on Dad's nutsack. So, right? So that's an example of contingency. Now, necessary existence is something that exists. There is no conceivable world where it didn't not exist, is the way that you could phrase it.
And yeah, so everything's contingent on something else, and then in a theist thing, that's an infinite regress, because then that's contingent on that, and then what's that contingent on it? And it goes, the stoppage here is something that is something just because it don't change. I forgot what the word for it is.
It's necessary. It's a necessary.
Necessary.
Right?
And you need something necessary, and nothing in the universe is necessary. Therefore, God's the necessary being that holds everything together.
Yeah, essentially. Like, it's, if you then trace, well, what's our dad contingent on? Well, on his parents.
Yeah.
On his parents. Okay, well, is he contingent on dirt on the earth? And then
Yeah.
you just go back and back and back and back. Well, where does it go? And the theist goes, you can't have an infinite chain.
Yeah.
And I go, why not? And they go, you can't have an infinite chain. And I go, why not? You can't have an infinite chain. And that's what tends to happen with the dialectics, with the conversation. And they go, you need to end somewhere. And I go, why? And they go, oh, you just do. Why? So anyway, they end up going, you need to end. And I go, look, I don't grant that. I think you're wrong. I think you can have an infinite chain. I have no problem with it whatsoever, right? However, if you end up saying, okay, there's something that's not contingent on something else, perhaps it's like the universe itself. It's not contingent on anything. They will then say, okay, well, we now have a necessary being, right? We have something that exists in all possible worlds. There is no conceivable world where it did not exist, right? Well, it always existed in every single state. Okay, well, we don't want to draw the line at the universe. We want to draw it at God. And I go, well, no, just draw it at the universe. And they go, well, no, I want to draw it at God. And I'm like, why? Just draw it at the universe. Just say the universe has always existed. It just is. You do Bertrand Russell. It just is. It's a thing, right? And their answer is, well, they want to drive it into God.
This is just...
Which is kind of like the Occam's razor kind of thing going, let me just add another thing on top.
Yeah, and this argument is just Kalam, but a slight bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, Kalam doesn't do that well. So
no,
being a slight bit better than Kalam is not really your go-to.
It also, like, what we're getting at here, it just doesn't get you to God. It just doesn't. And the other thing is, you could say, okay, there's a necessary being, right? So something exists that exists in all possible worlds. You could say, why are there necessary beings? Why is there a necessary being? And they can either say there just is, which is like, you can't. Well, it's a necessary being fact that there's a necessary being. It just gets silly. Right?
It's like,
so,
it's like saying, you need to put cushioning on the toilet. Why do you need to put cushioning on the toilet? Well, don't question my logic. I just want cushioning on my toilet.
Necessary being. No,
so now everyone needs cushioning on their toilet. Otherwise, they're wrong. And you're like, why are they wrong? Because they are.
Yeah. The other thing is people go, well, why is there this infinite chain of things? And you just go, there just is. They go, that's a horrible one. It's a brute fact. You're just saying there just is. I'm like, okay, you don't like brute facts. What are you doing with a necessary being? You're just inventing a new category.
Yeah.
Where else do you go, it just is? Where else do you say, in all possible worlds, that cup was full of that liquid? You don't do this.
Yeah.
You only do this for God.
Yeah.
You make up an entirely new category for God. And then you have the gall, the audacity to say to me, oh, you've got a brute fact. You've got a brute fact. You're just calling it a necessary being, basically.
Yeah.
Like you're making up this new ontological category.
Yeah. So
Meh. Best.
So, how often have you experienced this?
Contingency arguments come up less than the Kalam,
Right.
but they're better than the Kalam in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I would put it probably in between free will and Kalam.
Let's go then.
All right.
And guess what we have left?
Oh, it's not fine tuning, is it?
Fine tuning.
All right.
So, fine tuning is probably the most popular one,
Yeah, it's very popular today.
and I blame William Lane Craig for that. So fine tuning is basically we are on very tight strings in the universe. If it is, think of it like a little spinning wheel, right? You turn the dial just a tiny bit right, and we're all the way out.
Mm.
You turn it just a little bit left, and we've all imploded.
Yep.
So the problem here, right, is anthropomorphic bias.
Yeah.
Which is
anthropomorphic bias.
Yeah, anthropomorphic bias, which is basically, how do you know that this is the only way that life can form? You don't.
Nope.
There could be sentient blobs of gas in their own distant universe doing the exact same thing we are right now.
Yeah.
And debunking fine tuning, saying, "Oh, you don't know. Maybe solids could have a conscious experience." We don't know. We just don't know. And I think with that in mind, anthropomorphic bias literally completely does it for me. That's That's all I have to give. But if you have anything else you'd like to add,
there's so many objections to the fine tuning argument. I love that one. I think that one's is a great one. I mean, one way you could do it is say that we had like an entire bucket full of like 20-sided dice.
Right.
And I threw it all on the floor and I said, look, what's the chances of all of those numbers coming up, not just like that, but in that order, like that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's 1 in a trillion, billion, gazillion. Well, yeah. But what if I rolled it again? The next roll that I get wouldn't be the same, but it's got the same chance of coming up, right? So it's just what people do with the fine-tuning arguments. They go, what's the chances of this very specific situation coming up again? Really rare. Wow, that tells us that, it must have been deliberate. There's no reason to infer that whatsoever. And also, I call this the arse-picking objection. Because you can say to them, how do you know it can even be different? They go, oh, I don't. I just pulled it out of my arse. Okay, well, where did you get that probability for?
Yeah.
On, like, how many different states you could have this parameter?
Oh, I picked out my arse.
Out my bumhole, out my bumhole. Like, they're just making up as it goes along. So, you got the arse-picking objection.
Yeah.
One that does it for me is, you believe in an all-powerful God, right? You believe you're going to exist in heaven without a body, without these conditions. Well, so why would you think God needs certain conditions?
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
You're like, listen, if the atoms weren't like that, it would be so that atoms are spaced light years apart where we couldn't have come up. Life couldn't come up. You sure about that? You sure God couldn't make life exist that spans light years?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, you're
really?
You're omnipotent God?
Yeah. Like, what do you think of this guy, eh? Are you sure? Because
you call him a liar.
They go, look, you can make this prediction on God being responsible for this, but you can't. There's nothing to predict. This is God. There is no... If God could only do one thing in terms of bringing life about, and that one thing is the case, you have yourself a very good argument.
Yeah.
But that's not what happens. Incidentally, how many ways can conscious beings like us emerge with this much detail, with what we have, via naturalism?
Yeah.
No God. It seems to be the only way it can happen is evolution by natural selection. And what is it that happened? Evolution by natural selection. Yeah. Bam! You've got a really good fine-tuning argument for atheism there.
So with our final argument of the day, where do you think it ranks?
I'll put it in I like it. It does convince a lot of people.
Above religious experience?
No.
Really?
No. I think, personally, it's Watchmaker, experience, fine-tuning.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah. You sure?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Cool. Well,
Okay.
bro, look at that. This is the longest video on your channel.
Yeah, probably ever. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, it's possible I make a longer video than this, but it is very unlikely.
I know.
I don't think you've had a longer video than your tier list video.
No, it's a big one, isn't it?
I'll link that in the description as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, plug in my
Plug
bro.
your plug my bro.
Yeah.
You know, good stuff.
Even though you probably came here from the post he's gonna make anyway.
Oh, bring it in. It's Austin.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So, I thank you very much for watching. I will plug everything I have mentioned that I will plug, as I will go through this in post, and I will make sure to double check and go over all of that. So, thank you for watching. I honestly, like, just thank you. Like, if you've made it this far through, you're a legend, mate. Like,
you are a legend.
the whole way, like, bloody hell.
Yeah.
How long's this going to be, do you reckon?
I reckon you'll get an hour out of this.
Yeah.
Maybe an hour 10. So,
So-
yeah. Thank you, my fellow ape.
Is there anything you want to say before?
I want to say it's awesome watching your channel develop. It's
Yeah.
awesome watching you think about these arguments, the conversations we have, the interesting objections you bring to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool watching your journey, and it's one
Yeah.
of the cool things that we have documented.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of you. I love you, and I'm looking forward to seeing where you go next.
Thank you. All right. With that, on a love note, I'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.
Stay-
Well, I won't. He will.
Well, yeah. Stay curious, stay critical, and never stop questioning. Goodbye.
My fellow apes.